But I think there are amazing opportunities to do good in Georgia's rural, suburban, and urban communities that are often overlooked as hubs of innovation and also still be able to make profit. Whether it be, we talked about things like housing, transportation, mobility, ag. People all across the state need those resources. So if you have innovation, if you have business ideas in the B Corp space, there are opportunities all around the state to really serve the greater community and also still be profitable.
Welcome back to another edition of Be the Change Georgia, brought to you by Be Local Georgia. I'm Nathan Stuck, and I'm passionate about amplifying the voices of the amazing leaders surrounding the B Corp community in the Southeast who are showing how making a profit and making a difference aren't mutually exclusive ideas. Today, there are more than 4,000 B Corps across 75 countries and 150 industries, unified by one common goal: transforming the global economy to benefit all people, communities, and the planet. If you want to learn how to plug into our purpose-driven business community alongside the inspiring leaders we feature on this show, check us out at belocalgeorgia.com, and we'll hope to meet you at our next event.
In today's episode, Nathan sits down for a deep conversation with Jamal Lewis, Economic Opportunity Manager for Georgia's Partnership for Inclusive Innovation, aka the Partnership. They talk about the far-reaching economic and societal impact when you're intentional about fostering community and opportunities for diverse business leaders to innovate at scale across the state when centering values and actions around inclusion. Jamal is driven by the desire to improve access to resources in underserved and underrepresented communities, and his current role with the partnership is helping him to create these spaces and opportunities for those who are often under-resourced. So we talk a little bit about his story and his wisdom and his hope for the future, and we hope you enjoy this inspiration from Jamal as much as we did.
Jamal, what do you wish everybody understood about PIN and the purpose that ultimately drives your why?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I wish people knew about PIN and the purpose behind the why is just really the definition within our name. So inclusive innovation drives a lot of our work. It drives all of our work, actually. And so we at the partnership define inclusive innovation as improving access and opportunities for all Georgians to drive innovation and create opportunities for all the state to thrive together as a part of one innovation ecosystem. And I think when people hear our name, that's like the first question: well, what does inclusive innovation mean? And so all of our work, all of our pillars is driven behind that one goal of shared economic success and opportunity.
And it goes beyond just gender or race or ethnicity. It goes into regional, urban, rural, everything, correct?
Yeah, and when we talk about inclusive, you're exactly right. It touches across all spectrums. It's a statewide inclusive, so it goes from our rural centers to our urban cores and everything in between. It's inclusive of gender, geographies, as you talked about, race and socioeconomic status, because we know that there are just unequal opportunities and access to resources that provide opportunities across the state. And how we do that differs based on the communities, but the overall goal is to make sure that that is represented.
That's awesome. As somebody who's been a guest judge on some of the contests and challenges and things you guys have put on, it's an incredible. I mean, we covered, I think, just about every corner of the state. The one, at least, and I was just one judge during one event, and it was a really cool hodgepodge of everything. From literally, like, you could probably put like X across the state, and we hit everything. So it's a wonderful organization, and as I've gotten to know you too, like, your passion comes out when you talk about your work, when you talk about what you do and what PIN does. When did you first discover this passion for, and it's kind of all over it's doing good, but it's governmental and community affairs, it's affordable housing, it's gentrification and displacement, public administration. So where did you discover that passion, and who or what motivated you to go down this route as a career path?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll first start off by saying some of this is like my personal interests, right? And then some are my professional. And then I've been very fortunate and blessed to find a career opportunity working with the partnership to merge many of these opportunities, whether it be like my primary role or just projects that we fund or that we partner with to work on. But I'd say I first discovered my passion for public administration and economic and community development while deciding what master's program was a good fit for me. So at the time, I was really focused on getting my MBA. And I sat down with a career coach, and I just remember him asking me. His name is Dirk Smith, and I remember him asking me, "So, what do you want to do? Like, what is your why? What drives you? What motivates you?" And all of my answers really had like social economic impacts around it. Like, I want to help people. I want to help communities become better and more resilient. Just the development piece and understanding how economies can be built to help failing communities or help communities that are really thriving be inclusive. And so everything I said, he just listened and he told me, maybe you should look into public administration. It sounds like you really have a social lens on a lot of the things that interest you with an economic or business component to it. So, through that conversation, I started looking into the Master's in Public Administration program. And again, it tapped into some of my cores, always having a passion for business and entrepreneurship and helping others. And at a very young age, it was instilled in me the importance of giving back and ownership and what that can do to unlock opportunities across all industries and all sectors. And so, again, like I said, I took that advice. I looked into public administration, what it was all about, the career paths within it. And then I enrolled. And while in my public administration program, I learned about economic development. And that was really, I think, a big, huge reason of why I am here, where I am today. Is because, I was introduced to the career in economic development. And then I actually had the opportunity to work within the career. So I went over to Georgia Department of Economic Development as a marketing manager and later transitioned into a project manager with the Global Commerce Department. And I really just started to work with communities and those economic development professionals to understand what makes a community attractive, what are the economic drivers of communities, and then how that has translated today to the work we're doing. I mean, as you talked about the projects that we touch at Penn, it's all about access to healthcare, innovation and technology, entrepreneurship pieces, transportation mobility. We work projects from all across the innovation sector. And so tie-in for me was very natural.
It's so cool because very similar to sitting down with that MBA career counselor and what do you want to do? Like, and the look on their face is a little panicked of like, "Oh, I don't really know what you purpose." Like this is the business school, and it's one of the most rewarding projects I worked on actually was with two MPAs because those like combined knowledge sets of kind of the MBA world with the MPA world was I don't know, it's very complementary and they're both very needed alongside each other if you start thinking about what's going to drive economic prosperity. And, we talked earlier a little bit about the importance of, the term inclusive innovation, but also how that includes geographic, racial, gender, socioeconomic equity, all those different things that fall under that umbrella. So talk to us about how channeling the power of diversity is a game changer for our state's economic prosperity.
So I'd say our leadership, our team of managers and our key partners are aware of the lack of access and resources available to communities across the state. But we're also sensitive to the lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion and how necessary they are to ensuring that the resources and innovation that we foster and the projects that we fund can help all individuals in those communities. And so there are specific challenges that need, I would say, individuals with lived experiences in order to fully understand the impacts. Some of these impacts are systemic, some of these are just a function of geographies and certain industries not identifying the potential for innovation in certain communities. And so, again, having the diversity helps us better understand the state as a whole and the communities that we are serving.
Talk to us too about the different functions of your leadership team that you just referenced. How are you dividing and conquering, and what does a day in the life look like for you as the economic opportunity manager?
Our leadership team or management team consists of 4 managers and an executive director. Our community research pillar is led by my colleague Stephanie Broxton, and the community research pillar supports community initiatives that advance smart technology to create a safer and sustainable future for citizens within those communities. The workforce development pillar is one of our newer pillars, but that pillar aims to provide a multi-sectorial like experience to future workforce leaders in research, civic, and private innovation through a rotational fellowship program. The student engagement pillar is our third pillar. That program helps university and graduate students pursue interest in community service with summer placements that provide hands-on engagement in research and community engagement. And then the economic opportunity pillar is our final pillar, which I lead, as you talked about. But what my goal to this pillar is to support the partnership's goal to define Georgia's entrepreneurial identity as a national leader in technology, research, and development, and how implementation by empowering projects can create sustained shared opportunities for economic success. So a lot of what I do to go on the day-to-day level is really connecting with people, which is something that I love. Like everyone, I've learned this through my professional career and just personally, everyone has a really cool story. If you have an opportunity to talk and get to know people, people have similar backgrounds. They may have similar makeups and similar experiences, but there often are small nuances that differentiate those individuals. And so, a day in the life of the economic opportunity manager looks like meeting and connecting with people and communities across the state to learn about their stories, as I talked about. And this is just helping me identify the strengths and the opportunities for growth within those communities or those regions across the state. I also work with our funded project partners, innovation ecosystem stakeholders, and innovators, and also problem solvers such as yourself from across the state to scale access and innovation resources and opportunities. And so when we talk a lot about this access, we view this access as a network. And so it is great for me to have an entrepreneur in Athens that understands the challenges and also identifying a community that has a similar makeup in Athens that could benefit from some of the innovation that's going on, but there may need to be some tweaks so it better benefits that specific community, right? So it's really about the collaboration piece and learning from what's already being done successfully across the state and how we can tweak it. So a lot of my conversations center around that as I connect with other innovators. And then also helping to grow the awareness and capacity of Penn. So Partnership is a very young organization. We are not even 2 years old yet. And so we've achieved a lot of success in our early stage, but of course, there is a lot of capacity building for a small team of about 6 that has to happen and take place. So in this next growth cycle for us, what I focus more on now, as well as like connecting with people and engaging with organizations, is more sharing the impacts of Penn. We funded several projects across the state and multiple projects in certain communities. And so it's talking about how those communities have been impacted for the better and how we can continue to support them long after our projects are no longer active, but they become alumni.
As somebody who lives in Athens, Clark County, well, splits time between Atlanta and Athens, but my tax dollars stay in Athens for the most part. I'm grateful because you and I have had conversations about this too, or it's like for Georgia to prosper, Athens needs the striving tech scene as well. Like all these different places have very unique offerings to give the state and the overall economy. And making sure that we don't all feel like we have to go to Atlanta to be successful is something near and dear to my heart. So just wanted to give you a personal thank you for everything you guys have accomplished and that is yet to come.
Yeah, I mean, again, to piggyback on that, again, it's just taking what great innovators across the state are doing and scaling it. So we're just creating the opportunity, the space for collaboration and conversation. I always tell our project partners, like, we're not leading a lot of the innovation. What we're doing is fostering the opportunity for our leaders to innovate, to scale. And the one thing that I do love about the B Corp movement is that you're starting to see that move in the understanding across the state that, hey, I can actually have a business that creates a profit, but also have intentions and a mission that also does creates community good and well-being. And so connecting with you and understanding that has been super cool for me as well.
Yeah, I think it's important too that as the numbers grow, I think the awareness grows where people can see that they're not mutually exclusive, that you can't, a lot of people think that if you tell them you're a social entrepreneur, they assume you're a nonprofit. And even for traditional businesses, there's that element of like, you can be a traditional consultancy or insurance broker and still be a B Corp. And then you can make money and do business the right way and be successful. And that's kind of the neat part. What gets you excited? Like, what upcoming initiatives does Penn have? Where do you see, like, what are the big things you guys are working on right now? And I don't know, what got you out of bed this morning and kind of fired up to go?
Something we're making some really great progress towards. We haven't solved it yet, but I think we've made some really good inroads is fostering unique collaboration. So us as a public-private partnership that works statewide, has a statewide mission, there are some really interesting projects and really interesting opportunities. One of the biggest challenges in creating Georgia as the technology and innovation capital of the East Coast specifically is communication and collaboration. Getting innovators and individuals from certain communities, from all communities, to talk with each other and share experiences, share the innovative products and services and processes and how they're better serving their communities with this innovation. That gets me excited because when you have specifically like the small rural communities in Georgia that really get it, and you see the opportunity for them to be the leaders for this new change that's happening in positioning social entrepreneurs or tech entrepreneurs and building resilient communities, you really get a good understanding of assets that are here present in Georgia. And so everything from last Friday, I actually had the opportunity to go and visit two farms from the Working Farms Fund project that we funded, that the partnership has funded, and meeting the farmers and the families and understanding challenges, the opportunities that having land access has given them, but as well as like the opportunity that technology can play at creating a better process for them to earn more and be more precise with their agriculture. These are like really cool conversations, but when we also bring in our other partners, like Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College or University of Georgia Tifton campus, Georgia Southern, those type of universities into the mix, and they're all having conversations about how they can potentially collaborate and make these projects larger. It really gets me excited. And then if you think about it generationally, specifically with some of our ag tech projects or our smart community projects, we had a project in Valdosta that was a Georgia Smart Communities Challenge project, and they were actually recognized as like a world smart city. And if you think about Georgia as a whole, we've only had one other city being Atlanta that was ever recognized as that. And so for them to be in the running to win that award, you really start to see the opportunities and the impact that the partnership is making. And then the resiliency of these communities and the opportunities that they have to build stronger, better communities.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I always call it silo crushing, not to make a agricultural pun there, but that's a lot of, and just to affirm you and your work too, because I feel like it's important work that you're doing. And honestly, it's funny to hear that you're living your purpose and kind of living out your dream career to a certain extent. You're networking, you're the one making all of these connections and connecting the dots and connecting people who need to know each other to advance this for everybody. And I just wanted to let you know how cool that is of, well, of a job, but also thank you on behalf of your fellow Georgia resident for the work you're doing. Lastly, I just want to close because obviously we do kind of keep a theme around B Corps around here, but also a big passion of ours is the same silo crushing of bringing on partners as well. And we talked about B Corps a little bit earlier. As you look at the landscape of leaders in the B Corp and broader business community that are using their business as a force for good, what actionable advice would you provide them to keep pressing forward to help stimulate some of this economic growth that is happening, the development that's happening in the state in a way that will benefit all stakeholder groups?
The big thing is to continue to be intentional about looking at opportunities statewide. So I think we see a lot of times is that there's a lot of focus on the traditional hubs of innovation across the state. But I think there are amazing opportunities to do good in Georgia's rural, suburban, and urban communities that are often overlooked as hubs of innovation and also still be able to make profit. Whether it be, we talked about things like housing, transportation, mobility, ag, people all across the state need those resources. So if you have innovation, if you have business ideas in the B Corp space, there are opportunities all around the state to really serve the greater community and also still be profitable. The second thing I'll mention, which I think is a hot topic right now, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the way I like to talk about this is that, just being realistic, diversity, equity, and inclusion are not always mutually exclusive. But I would encourage everyone to do your best to incorporate all three when you can, but at all times if possible, because when we talked about the importance of diversity of thought, I think what people sometimes overlook is, and this is how I have observed it in some of my experiences, is that diversity often simply the ability to be present in the room. And so we need to be more intentional to go past that, right? So you can have a diverse group of people in the room, but the inclusion piece is the ability for those voices of those diverse backgrounds to influence the conversation of the room, right? And so we need to create spaces and rooms for diversity of thought in all of the sectors, whether it be geographical, race, gender, socioeconomic status. All of that needs to be present. And then the third piece is the equity part. That's the big piece. And that is recognizing that each person or each community, each geography has different circumstances. And so allocating the appropriate amount of resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome is also very important. And I think when those three are present, that's when you have the greatest outcome for most situations. So again, going back to your original question, I just encourage the B Corp leaders to really be diligent about all three and purposeful in the spaces that you're creating, and also how your innovation impacts all communities across the state.
Jamal, well, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you again. Well, A, for the work you do, but B, every time I talk to you, I leave like energized to go try to change the world for the better. You're one of those people that has that infectious energy. So hopefully it came across to our listeners. And I just want to, thank you for being a guest and sharing some of your work and what you do and the importance of the work you do.
Thank you, Nathan. And like I said, the feeling is mutual. I definitely admire the work and a lot of the sacrifice you make daily, as you talked about being an entrepreneur in the Athens and Atlanta area. And so I know those multiple drives per week and sometimes per day that you do just to serve and really push this B Corp mission. It is very important. And so I also want to salute you for the incredible work you're doing across the state as well.
Thank you. One of these days, they're going to build that train they've been talking about since my freshman year at UGA in 01. That train's coming. And then last thing, too, if people wanted to follow you online on LinkedIn, where would they find you and where would they find PIN?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me. It should be Jamal Lewis, and then PIN. You can go to PIN Georgia.org, and also that's our handle on Twitter as well. So at PIN Georgia. And then if you want to connect with me, LinkedIn is always like the great place to get me. Follow us on LinkedIn as well. And then on our website, there should be like contact information. But I encourage everyone to go to our website and check out just the projects and the initiatives that we're working on. One being our Georgia Smart Communities. They're having a new cohort in smart resilience. And so working with some communities to be more resilient and using smart technology in order to do so. So there'll be an announcement later this summer that talks about those communities and highlights them. And then just shouting out our Smart Community Corps, which is our student research internship program. And they've opened it up to all universities in Georgia. And so any university can any students from any university can apply, as well as technical colleges can apply in order to be placed at these project sites. And I mean, they've tripled their numbers from last year as far as the amount of students. And I think about half of those are students that are from universities that are outside of our traditional Georgia Tech, UGA places. And so just really wanting to promote those as great opportunities to engage with the partnership.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for coming on. Thanks again for all you do. This is a wonderful episode. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Jamal.
All right, thank you for having me.
Well, that wraps up another edition of Be the Change Georgia. We're grateful, as always, for the opportunity to serve you with this content and grow this incredible community of purpose-driven B Corp leaders. If you haven't already, we would be grateful for you to rate this show wherever you get your podcasts by simply tapping the number of stars you think it deserves and sharing it with a friend. This helps us get the word out and continue to use our collective influence as a force for good. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the help from our production team at Chat with Leaders Media. Learn how you can launch your own podcast to grow your business at chatwithleaders.com. Thanks again for listening, and now go be a leader worth following.